All right, wanted to share a deck tech for a pretty sweet deck that I've been working on and iterating. I've changed different versions up over the course of the last month, and I think this here I hit the sweet spot with this list. And yeah, what it started out with was Shatterskull Charger, was the impetus of the deck. Trample Haste 4/3, and it was just so tempting. If you can get a counter to stick on it, then you don't have to return it to your hand. So it's going to be a 5/4. And if you're going to be able to do that consistently, semi consistently on turn 3, or sometimes even turn 2, you're going to have a good time. And yeah, you're just going to have a 5/4 trample haster. Yeah, it's going to dodge unrevolted fatal push, for instance, and the 3 damage kill spells, stuff like that. So pretty aggressive deck idea to start with. And then recently I was really enamored by Recommission. And this is what makes it possible to put the Shatterskull Charger 5/4 on the battlefield on turn 2 sometimes. And I tried to work the deck a little bit around this, but seeing as there's only 4 reanimate spells, it seems to be a little bit too few. There's one coming in Wilds of Eldraine with the Young Hero Scroll, which seems to be worth it. But it works slightly different and doesn't work with some of the other cards in this deck, at least initially. So worth investigating. But for now, it doesn't seem worth it to build it around, build a deck around this card as much. But with so much removal going around in Explorer and Pioneer, you're going to get the value anyway because your stuff is going to get killed. So let's go through the rest of the deck with that being sort of the core idea to start with. I landed on this 1-drop creature because it does really well with counters, just counters in the rest of the deck because it has the ability to sacrifice it and to proliferate, which can be very neat. And then since it's going to die anyway, being a little 1-drop, you might as well get value out of it dying. Either you want ETB value or dying value. And this will do equal damage equal to its power to any target. So if for some reason you've put a lot of counters on this one and it dies anyway, though, then you still get value out of it. Yeah, Kumano faces Kakkazan. I think this card doesn't need much explanation. It's just the most efficient card they've printed. And most importantly, what I will point out for this card is the +1/+1 counter second chapter. You want to time that correctly so it works with the important counters matters cards. Lightning Axes. This can really work to set up your turn 2 recommission sometimes. And more importantly, it just deals with Shieldred's, Gigantas, big problems that you want to get around. Yeah, most importantly, I would say the deck needed a way to beat Shieldred, and this was the one that I found. And the card disadvantage, yeah, that's why I don't run 4. 4 is a little bit much, sometimes it just sits in your hand, but you do want to have access to at least 1 and sometimes 2 in a grindy game. Yeah, kills elves, Spikefield Hazard, not much to say there. Yeah, it does exile sometimes against Rectal Sack, which is an important matchup, of course. I've been really impressed with the Dusk Legion Duelist interaction with the Aspirant, which we'll come to in a second, but also Kumano, of course, turn 1, turn 2. That's really neat. Yeah, you just draw a bunch of cards of it. Even if they kill it immediately after you get it with the Kumano trigger, they can do it, of course, in response to you placing the counter from the Aspirant. But yeah, you're still going to get at least a counter. It works perfectly with Recommission. It's not the quote-unquote most efficient one because you could have used it on mana value 3 creature instead of mana value 2 creature. But still, getting a 3/3 Vigilance draw card for 3 mana seems great. Sign me up for that. So I'm really liking the Legion Duelist. Luminarch Aspirant, put a counter on target creature you control. Very simple, beginning of combat. Yeah, opponents can respond to that, but I just really find it valuable in this deck to have a recurring counters, and I think the Aspirant has proven herself as a very strong card. I think at one point it was even banned in Standard a couple of years back or so. Bonecrusher Giant, just a great card, turn 2, turn 3. Can be brought back even after you've played it and it's been dealt with, and they've taken 2 damage, or you've traded something. Yeah, you can bring it back, Recommission. Seems like an amazing fit for the deck. Thrillseeker is also a well-known card. For instance, in the Gruul mid-range or Gruul vehicles, Gruul Seekers, whatever you want to call it. And it does the same thing here. You just put it on a big creature, or in a pinch, put it on itself to get the last couple of points of damage through. It's just amazing when you can, for instance, play Shatterskull Charger, reanimate with Recommission, Thrillseeker, put the counters on Shatterskull Charger, deal damage with it, and then sacrifice to deal even more damage. It sounds a little bit like, Christmas Land math, but I've had it happen, and it seems to work out well enough. This is a little bit of a pet card, and I don't want too many of these because otherwise they'll just be dead cards. I like with some of the discard effects that this can be flashed back, and it just does a bunch of things. Some of them are redundant because the keywords are already on other creatures, but I like that it gives Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste. All of them very relevant. Lifelink, I think, maybe the one worth pointing out most. Indestructible, of course, they can respond to you casting this, killing it anyway, so they have instant speed, destruction or destroy creature. It doesn't matter that much, but it can be useful when just attacking for free, basically, and getting the life. But the lifelink, I will point out, against the more aggro matchups, game one, which is very useful. All works together pretty nicely. Pretty happy with how it pans out. Then the mana base, something I've been looking at a little bit. Just the two channel lands. I definitely want to make sure I get white on turn 2. So that's why I took the Inspiring Vantages, Battlefield Forges, Sacred Foundries, and the Pathway lands. I have 6 red-only lands, which I get is maybe a little bit on the high side. I guess some people would skip out on a mountain and maybe go for another Battlefield Forge. But I like that when you get Field of Ruined, you don't get go down a land like a stone. I think it's called Stone Rain or something. Don't get Stone Rained. Just like having that extra basic. But Sage is not really a problem because we got the Sacred Foundries. But yeah, I like just having a basic in the deck to go look up at least one, because you should expect maybe to have one in your hand. So that works. Den of the Bugbear has been really nice late game. I've been able to outgrind Rakdos both mid range and sack. But that has been also partly due to Sideboard, which definitely takes those matchups very seriously. I'll just go through it by matchup. Surges of Salvation, of course, can also be useful against just more matchups where you want to give yourself hexproof. So could be relevant there, but mostly you want to bring it in against black and red sources dealing damage to you, creatures you control, or targeting you. Anyway, moving on. So what did I say? Red and black. So useful against that in the sack matchup. Wreck the sack, destroy the artifacts, destroy their mayhem devils. Relevant against the oven, of course. Abrade's not very controversial or new. Reidane's also a well-known factor here. Quantity, just getting that shield down has been amazing. I have lost a game where I got the shield down and the opponent just got through regardless, just on the high value. But yeah, mostly this will just shut them down because they need to pay extra for all their targeting, and you're just going to prevent all the 1 damage triggers and just lower their attacks, even if they got an impressive board states. And in grindy games like that, Showdown of the Skalds, which has been really impressing recently. I can't see to show. Maybe I just pull it up. Has been really impressing in Boros decks, but here it's no different. I don't want it in the main board because I want to try to play faster, but against grindy matchups, control matchups, this is just very relevant, and Chapter 2 3 just synergize so well because you get counters. You can use those counters very well and get extra value out of them compared to other lists. And And yeah, control, that's where we, or even combo, want to play Reidane. So this card does double duty. And invasions are also very useful. Yeah, just getting a peek at their hand, seeing what control cards they have, and making them relevant card cost more, which is sometimes a bit of a challenge. Like, what do you pick? It's a big sort of decision point. Yeah, gotta respect green, so that's why Burning Hands, 2 of them are in here. You can get really stonewalled by just a 6 toughness creature, and this way you can get rid of them. I must say the Voldaren Thrillseekers as well on the main board have proven to be really good against that as well. Just making your creature grow bigger and then doing that extra damage to sacrifice them, because you usually got them down a bit by the time they will start up the board, build up the board. Yeah, if they have the God Hand, no one wins against mono green, I guess. But or even a good hand with and just cascading Cavaliers into Nick those. But still, I've done pretty well against all those matchups, and now in Diamond, after a grind and just tuning the deck. So really happy with that. I think I went over all the sideboard cards. Yeah, Rending Volley is just all-star against so many decks. Greasefang, Spirits, Humans. Yeah, well-known, well-respected sideboard cards. So I think a lot of sort of orthodox cards in the sideboard, which make a lot of sense. Just good red-white cards all around. I think the core of the deck is what makes it relatively unique, with the Shatterskull Charger, Recommission, Dusk Legion, Loyalist. Those 3 cards, I'd say, if I have to point out what makes the deck unique, those are relatively unique. Yeah, Angelfire Ignition people don't really run, but just find it a hella cool card. All right, so that's the deck. Hope people enjoy it, and maybe give it a spin. I mean, it's been really impressing me, having a lot of fun with it, and yeah, having a lot of fun brewing. All right, hope that was interesting to you. Bye-bye.